This is Carla Hinton with the Oklahoman and NewsOK.com. I'm here in the studio with several leaders of the National Baptist Convention USA, which is wrapping up its 113th Congress of Christian Education today here in Oklahoma City. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having us.
I have Reverend Jerry Young. He is the president of the National Baptist Convention USA. And I have Reverend John A. Reed. He is our very own senior minister of Fairview Baptist Church here, and he's also the chairman of the Oklahoma City Host Committee for this convention.
Good to be here.
All right, thank you for coming. So the Educational Congress is a spiritual education gathering for delegates from around the country and the Bahamas. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. Well, the first question I have for you is very basic, but it's also kind of essentially the reason why I had you come today. What is going on here, and how has it been this week? How would you describe your week here?
I tell you what, I'm going to have Dr. Reed to speak first because he's the host committee chairperson, and subsequently I'll give you my perspective.
Okay, all right.
Well, I was given the privilege about a year ago by our president, Dr. Jerry Young, to host our National Baptist Congress of Christian Education, which is an auxiliary. Really, it's the educational arm of our National Baptist Convention, also which I serve as one of the vice presidents of the Western region.
Okay.
And so Dr. Young asked me if I would do it, and I accepted the challenge. And I want to say that as far as I'm concerned, this week has been a tremendous week. And I want to just take just a few minutes to express my deepest appreciation to our city,
okay,
to all of our city officials, the mayor, the city council, the Chamber of Commerce, especially a lady by the name of Donna Wilson. I want all Oklahoma City to know that she was tremendous in the matter of preparation and planning for this week. And so we planned it, and then let me just say, we planned it and we worked our plans.
Okay. And
I most certainly feel that it has really been successful. We're getting all sorts of comments from the people from across this America that they have been blessed tremendously by being in Oklahoma City.
Okay, good, good, good. And you all did this in a short amount of time compared to maybe previous cities, is that right?
Oh yes, it's really a 2-year process.
Okay.
And of course, Dr. Young called me exactly about a year ago and asked me if we could do it. And I got the date cleared. I follow leadership, but I follow him. He's our leader, and I'm very supportive of his leadership. So whatever he asked me to do as a vice president, I get it done.
Okay.
Simple as that.
Okay.
And that's what have happened here.
Okay, okay. So Reverend Young?
Yeah, my perspective, I think without a doubt, Dr. Reed is accurate in his assessment, even from the perspective of those of us who are attendees here. There were some challenges, but I assure you that Dr. Reed, the host committee, the mayor, and the leadership of the city, I think saw those challenges as opportunities, and they made the best of it. And we've had a wonderful time here. Things have gone extremely well, and we're indebted to Dr. Reed and the host committee and the leadership of the city for having made it such a memorable occasion for us.
Okay, good, good, good. Thank you. How have the hotels, restaurants, and the convention activity sites responded to the delegates? How has that been going?
Here again, as with any meeting of this size, you cannot have this type of meeting without having challenges.
Right.
What really encourages us is that every challenge was met and resolved in such a way that it actually made our stay here wonderful.
Okay.
And so the persons at the hotel, they have been extraordinarily accommodating in most instances, and
okay,
it has been a wonderful experience for us.
Okay, okay. So I'd like to ask both of you, can you talk a little bit about some of the highlights? Have there been one or two things that you've especially liked about the conference? I know the musical, because I went to the musical, and that was spectacular. That was spectacular. But what are some things that may come to mind when you think about the highlights of this event?
Well, as far as the local committee was concerned, we had a responsibility with organizing and all the musical, and I think everybody will tell you it was tremendous.
Right.
Actually, not only was it a musical, it was a production. Our music people did a tremendous job, and of course our local committee did a tremendous job in advertising it across our city, across our state, and across the nation. And so I think it was quite successful.
Okay.
Same with the banquet. It was our responsibility really to advertise the banquet and just simply get all of the tickets sold, and
right.
and we accomplished that. Now I think it's one of the largest banquets that we've had in our convention for a few years.
Okay.
And so that's a compliment.
Okay.
For Oklahoma City.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Reverend Reed, I actually went to the oratory contest. I sat in on maybe 2 or 3 contestants, and I was really blown away by how well the young people spoke, some very talented speakers. And one of the things that I know is that your banquet was a scholarship fundraiser for some of these young people. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, okay.
And we had a number of people in our city who were sponsors, who most certainly contributed towards the scholarship for these young people. And in our session on yesterday, scholarships were given to a number of our young people from various churches across the nation.
Yes.
And so that's what it's all about.
Okay.
And I want to express my appreciation to all of the sponsors, especially here in our city. And I won't call the names, but we had a number of sponsors who most certainly have given and made contribution towards that effort.
Okay, okay, okay. Did you have any highlights or anything you'd like to mention?
It's difficult, but I assure you there are a couple of things that I would highlight.
Okay.
It's always wonderful when you see young people involved and engaged in the kind of way they were here this week.
Okay, good.
I was so proud of the young persons who participated, not only in the oratorical contest,
right.
But those who actually participated in the musical for the young persons, the young people who actually, I believe, in a very serious way, displayed tremendous spiritual maturity. And then, of course, the President's annual address day was an outstanding pouring of I think, authentic power.
Okay.
It was absolutely, unequivocally a tremendous spiritual experience. Okay. And I believe that ultimately, because of what happened here this week, I believe that Oklahoma is going to be better. Okay. But I believe definitely we're going to be better.
Okay. Okay. Good. 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 Well, something you brought up the aspect of the youth here and the young adults here.
Yes.
Is that part of this whole this convention is to make sure that the young people and the youth, they will be able to take over when it's time for their generation to take over at their local churches, but also with convention gatherings? I know there are older people here too, but I noticed there was a lot of emphasis on young people.
Exactly right. We are quite cognizant. As a good friend of mine would say, the young people are not really the church of tomorrow. Mm-hmm. They have to be an integral part of the church today.
Okay.
And we're convinced that in the final analysis, what Christ has called us to do in terms of making disciples is essentially to make sure that persons, regardless of their age, can express the love of Christ and extend his life. And you do that essentially by making sure that persons are trained, that persons are taught. I've shared before, I am convinced that once a person accepts Christ and that person becomes a Christian, that person at that point is assured of eternal life.
Okay.
However, once you are saved, that is only one aspect of salvation. That's the past tense, but the present tense has to do with sanctification.
Okay.
That is growing and becoming more like Christ. That's what the Congress does. Teaches, trains persons to become more like Christ. So ultimately, we can fulfill the Great Commission. And so these young people are an integral part of that. A young lady last night talked about, they say that we have left the church. They say that we don't come anymore. They say that we have left God. And she said, it is not so. We are here. We are part of the church. We are part of what Christ is doing. And I was absolutely thrilled to hear those young persons testify at that level.
Okay, good, good. I knew you had this in you. I knew we were going to get him going. Well, so my last question is really easy. Is there anything you'd like to talk about that we haven't already talked about here?
Only one thing I would add is that I'm grateful for the churches of our community, the churches of our state. We have so many of our members who do not get an opportunity to attend our national meeting. Our church is represented every year and has been for as long as I've been pastor, which is 55 years. And we usually take a group of our members, a group of our youth across the country every year, wherever. But the entirety of our congregation does not get a chance to be involved and to attend. And so this has given our congregation is completely excited about this Congress and other churches in our community and across our state. Okay. We've had buses and vans and all from across our state bringing members from our churches. And so our state has really been touched. And I believe simply by our National Congress and Convention being here this week, our city will be blessed and most certainly helped in the future.
Okay, good, good.
Yeah, I will say that as it relates to the whole idea of Christian education, what really comes to mind, the Apostle Paul, particularly in his writings, but in the book of Romans, I think in particular, he begins with the philosophical, and then he ends with the practical. I believe essentially this is the model, that we simply cannot proclaim the gospel, we got to practice the gospel. And so what we seek to do is teach and train people so that they won't simply declare the gospel with their lips, but demonstrate it with their lives. And that's what we're doing. We're trying to enable persons, to empower individuals to literally practice the gospel.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you both for coming in today. I know you have a busy day today as you conclude the gathering, so I appreciate you coming.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you, sister.